Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Brian with Live Life Simple, and I am always trying to up my food saving game or my food storage game. And today I think we have something that can really help us with that, because yesterday I received the AVID ARMOR USV32 chamber vac sealer. I've been meaning to buy one of these for a long time. I've heard a lot of info and a lot of chat about these. So today we're going to unbox this thing. I'm going to give a review of it. We're going to go through a couple of test samples. I'm going to compare it real briefly to some of the competition, and I'll show you the specs of this, the price of this, and I will of course give you my opinion and my thoughts of the AVID ARMOR. And I think today we're going to be able to take our food preservation up a notch, so stay tuned. So let's get this thing unboxed first, and then I'll kind of go over what the difference is between a chamber vac sealer and just your regular impulse sealer or your regular vacuum sealer like a FOODSAVER type device. So we have a quick start guide, just my invoice, and then a small user manual. Most stuff doesn't even come with much of a manual at all anymore. And then we have this heater ASM. That's your heat sealing bar, which actually seals your Mylar. I'll show you that here in a second. We have a replacement lid gasket. That is most likely a part that that fails the most often. That's probably why they give you a backup. There's a squishy avocado thing. So it looks like the avocado is just a test that shows that your sealer works. Your sealer sucks. And then we have our chamber vac sealer and the power cord, and you can see obviously this is much bigger than your food sealer bar type vacuum sealer. And to give you an idea of how much bigger this is about 14 inches wide and 15 inches deep and 9 inches tall. So obviously this is not for your average everyday vacuum sealing. This is for someone who is doing a lot of food storage or doing big quantities of food storage. If you've watched this channel before, you know that we do primarily freeze drying. So as far as I'm concerned, this is going to go hand in hand with freeze drying because you always have large quantities of food. But even if you don't freeze dry, if you're a dehydrator or you can, or you're a homesteader or something like that, this is something that you can definitely work into your process. And the reason this is not just an everyday kitchen gadget is, one, the amount of real estate that this takes up on the counter. It's pretty big. If you have a big processing area where you're doing food storage, you know, this is not really that big a deal. The second reason being the price tag. This one right now is about $600. Obviously that price fluctuates plus or minus depending on time and where you get it from. But if you're not using this as it's intended to be used for, that's a big price tag to be paying. But the big difference between this and your everyday vacuum sealer like a FOODSAVER type is that this has a chamber inside of it where you actually put your ingredients inside of here. It will vacuum seal in the chamber similar to a freeze dryer and seal with this heat bar at the same time. And the finished product of this is going to be a lot nicer, and it's going to be a lot more consistent, especially if you're doing bag after bag. So you saw that I pulled a couple more things out of here. This is a filler plate. This actually would just sit in here. It occupies a little bit more space, so it reduces the time that it takes to actually do the whole process if you didn't need that whole space. And then it comes with some sample packs of vacuum pouches. I am not going to be using this in freeze drying. We use a Mylar type bag like this. So that will be the true test today, whether or not this can seal a 5 mil and a 7 mil Mylar bag while doing the vacuum seal as well. So my first impressions for quality, it seems like it's pretty good quality. It has a nice thick glass top on it. I do like that you can see through here so you can see what's going on inside. I'm not sure if both brands do that. And I do want to point out too that AVID ARMOR has two different sizes. This is the larger version because I wanted to make sure that it would do the larger size Mylar bag. I wanted to make sure that that heat bar was big enough right here. This is a 10 by 14 bag. This is the largest bag that I use. There's stainless steel used on the outside. The glass case is real nice and thick. This is stainless on the inside too. It does have some heft to it. The control panel seems like it's well built. Will this compare to the VacMaster, which is kind of considered more of a commercial version of this? I don't know how this will hold up in comparison to that one. But for my needs, and I would imagine most freeze dryers, we're not really at that commercial level yet. So you're still kind of like at that home use level, just on the very high end of that. I wouldn't consider myself commercial. So if this does the trick, I would say just for the price, it's probably worth buying this one. You can buy almost 2 of these because the VacMaster is about another 30 or 40% more than the cost of the AVID ARMOR. So earlier you saw me pull out these 2 boxes from the top. That was an extra heating element and an extra replacement lid gasket, which I think is pretty generous of the company. And those would be this seal right here that goes all the way around that holds air in, and then this would be your heat bar. I think that's pretty nice of the company. A lot of companies would not do that. They'd wait for those to fail and you would just have to buy the parts from them. So right off the bat, there's a couple things that I really like about this. This is a small business. It's based in the Midwest. The second thing is they actually give you a 2-year warranty, which is almost unheard of now. Almost everything is a 1 year or less. All you have to do is just show that you gave them a review. They'll extend your warranty to 2 years. I think the next thing that we need to do is get this thing set up. We're gonna put it through its paces. I'm gonna try and seal some 5mm and 7mm Mylar for our freeze drying friends. That's a very common type bag that we're gonna be using in this. And then I wanna take those sealed bags and just let them sit for a while and make sure that that seal is good. So first let's check out this control panel. This is just your gauge. It shows how much pressure is inside this chamber. You can adjust the vacuum time and the seal time. The seal time will be important because if you're sealing a thicker bag that's 5 or 7 mil, then you're definitely going to want a longer seal time. The vacuum time will come into play because if you're a freeze dryer, if you have something sharp like noodles or something like that, you don't want them to penetrate your bag, because if that happens then you lose your whole seal. So that can be adjusted as well. And then there's also just a seal button if you did not want to vacuum, and then a marinate button as well, which you can use for marinating steaks, marinating different things. Alright, so let's get this thing started. I actually have some turkey and noodles that I freeze dried. This already has an oxygen absorber in it, so I'm actually going to open this back up. I'm going to expose it back to oxygen again. And then it says to put this in between this little plastic tab on the middle here, close the lid, put pressure on it, and click my auto vac and seal. So it's counting down. I actually took my seal level up to 9 because we're obviously going to need the maximum amount. This is a 7mm bag that I'm using. Well, there's no doubt about it. If this is as sealed as the bag looks, then this is definitely a crazy seal. And there you go. That's a better view right there of how sealed this is. So I went ahead and double sealed this. I always like to do that with all my freeze dried stuff, but I'm gonna let this actually hang out for a couple days and then I'll check back in with it. Let's try a 10x14 5mm bag. And for kind of a dramatic effect, I'm gonna put some seed potatoes in here, and that way we can really see how good the seal and the vacuum is. So one thing that I want to note is that this is a 10x14 bag. You're not going to be able, with 100% certainty, you're not going to be able to get any bigger of a bag in here because this is really pushing it. So let's try this with the 5mm. It's the larger bag, the 10x14. And one thing that I'm not sure if you caught on the first video, the whole process is automatic, which is cool. I wasn't really expecting that. I thought I was going to have to introduce the air back into the chamber, but it does all of that for you. So it's real simple. You push down on the glass, you hit the auto vac seal. It vacuums for whatever vacuum time you set it for, and then it's going to seal for whatever time you set it for, and then you can let your hand off. Interesting too is that you think that it's not vacuuming because it's not pulling it out, but then watch. Bam. Alright, well, I would call that super sealed. And this one, I'm just gonna keep it sealed one time. I always like to double seal stuff because it gives you that extra layer of protection, but we'll let these sit for a few days and we'll come back and we'll see if this worked on the Mylar. If you really wanted to ensure that the Mylar was completely sealed, no questions asked, you could actually double down and use your Mylar bag sealer as well once all of the air is sucked out of here. Okay, well here we are. It's been a week and these look exactly the same as they did a week ago. And one thing that I've noticed that I like about vacuum sealing is that there's really no room for error, because once it looks like this, if there is any kind of leakage or something's not sealed right, you're going to be able to tell right away. So the folks at AVID ARMOR were kind enough to pass on a coupon code that I can give to all of you viewers and freeze dryers. If you just go to checkout and use Live Life Simple, they'll give you 10% off your purchase, that's 60 bucks. I'll put the link to that site, AVID ARMOR, down in the description, and I'll also put that coupon code down in there as well. Alright, well let me give you my final thoughts and my opinion on this sealer. I think that $600 is a significant investment, but compared to the VacMaster, unless the VacMaster does something that's way above and beyond what this one is doing, I really like this one because it seems like it does everything very well. The thing that I was concerned about when I first ordered this was whether or not it would seal the 5 and the 7 mil Mylar bags, and it did. So to me it looks like this is well worth the money if you're serious into food preservation, which if you're a freeze dryer, you've already taken that step, so most likely you are. If you're a homesteader, if you butcher your own meat, if you have chickens, or like a big time gardener, or you do a lot of canning or just food preservation in general, I think this is probably gonna suit all of your needs. In the meantime, this is Retired at 40. Remember to live life simple, and we'll catch you next week.